So if you're absolutely brand new to game development, a lot of what we talk about and do will be a little bit confusing to you, and that's totally okay. When I first started out, I did not understand anything. I was so confused with the most simple concepts. I didn't understand what variables were. I couldn't understand what functions did. I didn't understand how art was put into a game. How do you put a game on the App Store? These were all very, very confusing for me. So if you don't understand everything perfectly, that's totally fine. Just follow along with the tutorial, and I guarantee by the end you'll have a working game. When you understand the whole concept from a game from start to finish, you'll better be able to understand the concepts that we talked about at the beginning of the session without being overwhelmed. So the first thing we're going to do is go to unity3d.com and click Get Unity. Unity is a free game engine that basically 60 or 70% of all games are made on. You can make mobile games, you can make 3D games, you can make amazing games. It's pretty awesome and free game engine. So we're just going to click Try Personal. Personal is the same as Pro or Plus with just a few little features removed. So for example, we can't have our own splash screen on Personal. You have to have the created by Unity, which is totally fine. My games have got that. Click I confirm. Download the installer for Windows or for Mac or whichever operating system that you're on. It will download. You'll see some free assets here to help you get started, some free tutorials. You can open up the installer and just run through that to install the latest version of Unity. Don't worry if you don't have the exact same version of Unity. Anything over this will work fine with everything that we're doing in this tutorial. So don't stress about that. So because I've already installed Unity, I'm just going to open it here. But before we do that, I'm going to download the project files. So what are the project files? The project files are things like audio, which is like our theme song. Or it's things like our sound effects, things like our sprites for the game, and just things like that. Little assets that you can't create inside of Unity, but will be used in this project. If you want to use your own assets, that's totally fine. You can use your own sounds, you can use your own visuals. If you want to use all the visuals that are in this project for your own game and release it on the Android store or the iOS store, any type of game, that's totally fine as well. Do it, you do you. Okay, so let's start a new Unity project. So start up Unity, we're going to click New. Make sure you sign in with your account, which I'm sure that you do. We're going to choose 3D template. We're going to name it Balloon Beach. I always spell balloon wrong. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong now, but I'm not going to check. And we're going to check the location. We're going to choose location of where to save our game. Choose just anywhere that you feel comfortable saving it on your hard drive. You can leave Unity Analytics on or off, it doesn't really matter, and we're going to create project. Unity will now create a new project and set everything up for us. Okay, so when Unity starts up, this is what you'll see. If you've never opened Unity before, once again, you'll be overwhelmed, but don't worry, we'll get through it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to do a little bit of tidy up. So Unity starts off by creating a folder called scenes. I don't really think we need that, so we're just going to delete that. Then we're going to drag in our project files. So you just click them and drag them into the assets window here. Okay, fantastic. So now we have a new Unity project with a that is all ready to rock and roll. We can press play and see what our game does. Right now it does nothing. It's just a camera in an empty space. We can see over here we have our services. So we have like Unity Ads turned off, Unity Analytics, which is turned on, which was that question at the start. Cloud Builds, a bunch of other stuff that we don't really need to worry about. We can click over to the inspector. The inspector is something that we'll be using for most of the game. So if I click on something like the camera, you can see all the information that we have for the camera that's in the game or the directional light. Over here, we have our scene. We have all the items that are in our scene. Over here, we have our scene view. So we can, if you right click, you can like kind of move around the scene. If we wanted to add a cube, we could add a cube and we could like move it around, and you can see over here in the game view, you can kind of see the cube. If you wanted to make the cube bigger, you could come over to the cube over here and drag the X, or you could drag the Y and the scale, make it bigger or smaller. You could do whatever you like. Or you could click these buttons up here. So you could go to hand tool, move around. You got the, don't know actually what it's called, the move tool. We can move it like along different axes, or you can just, grab by that and just move around. You got the rotation tool, which obviously you can rotate, and all of these work with messing around with the transform information up here. So it's all just based on numbers. So for example, if I'll show you an example in a sec, but say if we also wanted to like grab, you could also grab the scale tool. You could scale things like this pretty simply, and so on. You can just play around with these tools if you like. But say if we wanted to, let's just delete this cube because we don't need it. Say if we wanted to grab a new cube, and let's just say cube, and we wanted to make sure the cube was right in the center. We could change its X position to 0, its Y position to 0, and its Z position to 0. And now this is exactly in the center. And we know that the cube is 1 has a width of an X value of 1, a Y value of 1, and a Z value of 1. So if we want to create another cube, copy, paste, now the other cube is inside that cube, and say if we just wanted to be right next to the other cube, we could just change the X scale to, sorry, not the scale, sorry, the position to 2, oh, 1, sorry, so 1. So then we know that these two are right next to each other, which is pretty cool. The only other thing that we need to worry about, let's just delete them because we don't need them, is down here we have our assets. These are the items, I suppose you could say, like our scripts, our audio, things like that. The things that are actually going to be in our game and included in the build. So if you like make a new song and you want to drag it in, you can just drag it in. We've got our console down here, which is used for debugging code. We'll be using this a fair bit. And we have our animations, which are used for creating like animations, like whatever we want to do. Like we want to make a ball bounce or something, we can create that in the animations section.